All right, everyone. A crazy state senator in California has introduced legislation. I think it was called SB 1424 that would force sort of the tech companies, if they want to do any physical business within California, that is, they have like a mailbox, they have a campus like YouTube does or something. I think most of the biggest tech firms are based in California. I'm not sure why. It's like you're screwing yourself with high tax rates. You could be in Texas and it'd be way, way better. Certainly would have better infrastructure at that point too, probably. In a lot of areas, you go to Austin or Houston or something, it's going to be more developed in the San Francisco area even. They're in California. If you've got servers there, again, mailbox offices or whatever, you're going to have to conform to this law if they pass it. I don't know what the odds of it passing are, but it would be a shitty idea. It would also destroy California's economy. Let me explain what the bill is and why that would be a problem there. The bill essentially would force tech firms to fact check all things that are posted on their sites if they have a physical presence within the state of California. You can do business in California, be like a site based elsewhere. That's different, but if you have a physical presence in California, you have, again, a server or whatever, you have to use state fact checkers. Under this bill, the state would have sort of the final say on whether something, I guess, was accurate or not. This is problematic on multiple constitutional levels, the first, of course, being it would violate the First Amendment of any users on a decentralized platform. You'd think Facebook or YouTube or whatever, people making content, essentially Zuckerberg the other day referring to Facebook as basically a publisher is legally potentially a problem for him. I'm not sure. It's a good thing he wasn't under oath when he gave that answer. I'm sure that his lawyers very quickly gave him a stern talking to when he was done. What happened in such a situation is that on a site where massive amounts of material are posted, the state would then have to determine whether or not that was true or not. The second problem is that for a lot of the big tech firms, most of their users are not Californians. How would then the state of California be capable of legally justifying denigrating the First Amendment rights of users in other states or the rights of people even in other countries? Now, based on California law. California law doesn't apply to a Vermonter. It doesn't apply to a Texan. Then why would it apply to them if they were using a site simply because they had a physical presence in California? Third, what about sites that have a physical presence there would fall under the law but are not based in California? It's simply they do happen to have, at least on the side, some degree of presence there. What if the company's registered in Delaware? Technically, they're under a totally different state's laws for many regulatory purposes, and they simply have a backup server farm somewhere in Los Angeles or something. I'd see that maybe as being a problem too. The larger problem, though, is this on two different levels. First and foremost, the number of state fact checkers you'd have to have would be astronomical. Considering the number of Silicon Valley big tech firms that are in California, we're talking at least some tens of thousands of extra state individuals hired by the state in order to conduct the fact checking. Therefore, because it would be so massively expensive, the answer is they would probably 90% of the effort would have to be related to the companies. Therein lies, therefore, the second problem. Let's say I'm Google, over in Mountain View or something. And California is saying, oh, you're going to have to fact check everything that is posted. So if someone has a blog spot, someone is using an email to spread information around, like an email newsletter or something, certainly YouTube, they're taking out ads on Google, whatever form it happens to be. You're expecting my company to hire the tens or maybe hundreds of thousands of additional individuals required to fact check instead of me just investing in moving my company to another state where I might have a better tax situation, honestly, anyway. YouTube, for instance, if Google said, okay, screw it, we're moving to Texas, they would save money on that, and it would be a huge primary investment. Only the big tech firms would be able to afford to make the move, but once they had, they'd pay less and escape a situation, in which they would be crushed as companies. How would they even be capable of affording the number of people that would be required to even partner with the state to fact check all the material? How would they navigate the tricky legal waters when people in other states sue them for following through with California law or sue the state of California? How is California going to pay for it? How much more can the taxpayers there really shoulder as a burden? You see, the problem is, in some cases, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I have a feeling on the lower level, someone who's not a John McCain like House Intel or on some defense committee in the Senate or really close to the executive, the presidency. People at the state level largely, I think they actually believe the nonsense about foreign agents manipulating Americans' minds, and there's a huge, huge problem with fake news, 90% of which is known to be and supposed to be satirical anyway, online. So they see this as a pragmatic solution to the problem, but it can't possibly work. Fiscally speaking, this bill would not work. It's like when Congress grills Zuckerberg. Congress, by the way, being the only group of people in the world that can make Zuckerberg look normal by comparison. They're grilling him, oh, we might have to regulate Facebook. We might have to regulate the internet more. Even Zuckerberg says, oh, I'm not against an unregulated internet, in his fucking Bert and Ernie voice there. Here's the thing, though. The problem is the cost of doing so. The amount to which it would destabilize the entire internet. I think that might be a little bit of a problem now. Do you? Yeah, we're going to need 1 million people nationwide employed just to make sure that everyone else is getting accurate news. How is the state supposed to determine what is or is not accurate? For a lot of things, it's totally subjective. For a lot of things, and then you've got to differentiate between news and analysis. Now, you've got to differentiate between a publisher and a site that's just providing a skeletal platform for a user base. There are all sorts of tricky legal definitions involved that make it virtually impossible for a state to do this. And again, if I had a tech firm, I'm in California paying their monumental tax rate, regardless of the write-offs that they give to Silicon Valley. I'm based in San Francisco or something. I'm willing to pay $500,000 a year for, my 2-room apartment. Why wouldn't I be willing to invest in leaving the state and paying a lower tax burden anyway? If it looked like they were going to put such an onus on my company that it would drive me out of business. Look, foreign competitors would easily spring up at that point. Absolutely, because U.S. firms would be so muzzled, they'd have to have so much extra dead weight on the company. So Senator Pan doesn't understand what he's talking about. He thinks this is pragmatic because he has no clue about what the actual ramifications of his bill are. He sees it as, well, this will mean no fake news. What it really means is no Silicon Valley anymore. What it really means is those tech firms will become Texan, or they'll go to Nevada or Oregon or somewhere else that's ultimately a greener pasture for them. If California has another mega drought, of course, literally green pastures. Although the state of California doesn't matter, it doesn't care how much water they waste on the YouTube campus or on Facebook HQ or something. They're exempt from the laws of the little people. That's about all. Peace out.